Thank you for watching the World Community Magazine's Hour of Power Live on Facebook with your hosts Edward McQueen and April Garner.
Brother Edward, you're muted.
Oh, that was done on purpose. On purpose.
You always have a trick up your sleeve.
Okay. We're going to look. Sorry, everybody, that we're just a little bit tad bit late. That's my fault. And so I want to apologize. So good evening. Welcome to the program, and hope you you got down a little bit about on our promotion, which we try to get across very, very efficiently this time, and we did. So, we got a lot to talk about. Okay, we got some things for you all regarding. Of course, this is Black History Month, right? So let's do it. April, we're going to showcase again an update on something that is the only thing that's in the only Black History Museum in South Carolina. With the curator being Mr. Cecil Williams. On the street, everybody's been saying, "Wow, I know him." Based after looking at the magazine, which features him and his museum for this month. So he must be he's beginning to be a very, very, very popular person, and he's going to tell us some things about his people that he's been sharing this with across the state and across the nation. In fact, so I'm anxious to hear that. So. We'll go with Mr. Williams.
And before we do that, remind everybody of how they can engage in the conversation.
I'm sorry. Yeah, you can send your comments in. yeah, and it's right on the right side of your screen. You can see you can send your comments in. And whatever you want, the questions you're going to ask is going to be live, and he'll try to respond to them. April will have them run across at the bottom of the broadcast and highlight all of your comments or whatever. So we'll welcome in all of that, and hopefully you're going to get a lot out of it. I know you will, myself, because that's the talk on the street. And people then passing it, and so they're anxious to find out what more Mr. Williams has to offer. Also, this is Gullah.
Yes,
Gullah Geechee.
That's right.
That's coming up. We got two wonderful guests who are going to elaborate a little bit more about that event, which is coming up the day after tomorrow. April.
Day after tomorrow. Today is just Tuesday.
Today is Tuesday. Well, look, it was highlighted. Guess what? At the Conway City Council yesterday.
Oh, really?
Yeah, about that event that's coming up. So there's a lot to look forward for. But we have two people who's going to come on and really share their the highlights of what to expect and when to expect it. Okay, so just got this this little chat from this. Comment from Ms. McIver said the conference begins Thursday.
She said be careful. Well, first of all, she said be careful.
All right, Ms. Mac. All right. So April, let's start it, man. Let's get it on.
All right. So but before we do, Brother Edward, I got to make sure you go through the checklist. We also have a very special new member of the WCM Live family joining us tonight. And so the audience is going to have a chance to meet him, and he's going to talk about what happened at City Council the other night, right?
Absolutely, but I was kind of like holding that for a surprise, okay? Because he's coming on live.
Gear it up. You have to gear it up though, so the people will see.
He's coming on live. Oh man, okay. Well, anyway,
all right.
You divulged that, so shame on you.
Oh my gosh. Well, I think he appreciates it. He's smiling all over himself, and he's ready, and we're ready. So, Brother Eric, would you like for us to start with Mr. Williams? Where do you want us to go first?
Let's start.
All right. Okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, our special guest tonight is Mr. Cecil Williams. How are you this evening?
Good evening from Orangeburg. Doing just fine. Just had a very nice dinner this evening with my wife, and it's been a busy day, but I like to be busy. But thank you very much for inviting me to be a guest tonight.
Yes, it is always a pleasure. And I have to give you your props. You are an icon to my generation and generations that are bound. I think my first introduction to you, and I'm going to show everyone what my first introduction to you, and I'm going to say unfortunately, because I should have known about you before I actually saw this iconic picture. But whenever I saw this picture, I didn't even know who you were. But I knew that you were fierce. I was like, that's what I'm talking about. And I actually wondered if this picture was taken like recently and just kind of staged, or if it was really a true iconic part of history. And then Brother Edward introduced you, and I said, oh my goodness, are you serious? We're going to have the Cecil Williams on the show. So this is awesome to have you here tonight.
Well, it's wonderful to be here with you. And again, actually, one of the reasons I'm kind of late is Ed was trying to help me. I'm on a Macintosh, and it doesn't always cooperate.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
So he was really helping me, and I appreciate that. But anyway, so very happy to be on here with you tonight. Thank you very much for letting me be a guest tonight.
Absolutely. So, Brother Edward, you want to kick it off? Let's talk about the museum.
Yeah, that's and in fact, we visited the museum. Hey, man, that was awesome. Almost reminded you of the museum in DC, which I'm sure they're going to ask you to be a part of before it's over with, Mr. Williams. The African American Museum in Washington.
Well, some of my pictures are in there, as there also will be some of my images in the new African American Museum that will open up in Charleston the latter part of this year. So I'm very happy that we are beginning to get South Carolina's history at the forefront. So much of American history and so much of South Carolina, especially the civil rights movement history, we really have not really embraced that over the decades. But I'm very proud to say that now this is becoming to be better known, and we can now salute and pay tribute to those people whose shoulders we stand on.
What I'd like the audience to be aware of, and I don't know if a lot of people have heard about the Briggs Delaney Pearson Gallery that you have in there. Could you tell us a little bit, give us a background on the Briggs and Delaney?
Well, so much of South Carolina's history, it's out there, but a lot of times historians do not really connect the dots, is the way that I usually put it. For example, if you were to Google and then put in the search something like who or when did the civil rights movement begin?
Right.
More than likely, in about 4 lines, it would mention the Reverend Martin Luther King and the brave people of Montgomery, Alabama, Rosa Parks and others. And it would say that there was the beginning of the civil rights movement. However, in reality, the civil rights movement of Orangeburg was really came after what is called Brown versus Board of Education. So now here's where the Briggs case comes in. Where did the Brown case come from? And that's where South Carolina comes in. With class action suits, usually the Supreme Court follows the precedent in the past of even naming the case chronologically or alphabetically after maybe the class action suits. Not in the Brown versus Board of Education decision. What happened? Chronologically, of the 5 cases, the Briggs versus Elliott case in Clarendon County, South Carolina, 35 miles from Orangeburg and where I am, was the first case in history that attacked segregation in public education. It was the first of the 5 cases. The Topeka, Kansas case, which gets the namesake and the credit, is the Brown case of Topeka, Kansas, merely because the governor of South Carolina, Jimmy Burns, did not want the South Carolina case to really be appear at the front of a case that might have gone say against them. As it turned out, the South lost in that case. The Supreme Court ruled on May 17th, 1954, that segregation in public education is unconstitutional. And that was really the beginning of the civil rights movement. And then the Reverend Martin Luther King and the brave things that the people of Montgomery, Alabama did, then they got involved. But it was that South Carolina case that really started things, and that is really the big bang of the American civil rights movement.
Now, you know, Brother Williams, the last time we had you on the show, I think you, and probably a miscommunication this time, you had some graphics, or you showed some photos of some of the things that you had in there. Do you have those available, that's readily available that you can show? If not, we certainly understand.
Most of the posters that we had that, besides the posters that you might see on the right part of my screen, most of the posters have just been placed at an exhibit here in Orangeburg that's going to kick off beginning of next week. And so I don't have very much of them. However, I don't know if anyone on here is savvy enough for us to really be able to take a tour through the museum via the, of course, the website, which allows. But don't have very many. I do have one poster that I have right here that I'd like to show, especially since we have now approached the 54th observance of what is called the Orangeburg Massacre. Here's an event in February 1968 where South Carolina Highway Patrolmen fired into a crowd of 150 students, killing 3 and injuring 28. And of course, from the museum, this is one of the posters we have on the wall. Here are students days before the Orangeburg Massacre walking past that bowling alley, which really prevented people of color as late as 1968. They didn't want us to even bowl. We would have to drive 50 miles, 100 miles round trip to Columbia, or 100 miles to Charleston to bowl. So on the night of February the 8th, South Carolina Highway Patrolmen on the State College campus marched up the hill, loaded their guns, and shot students. It was really a massacre, and that's how it got its name, the Orangeburg Massacre.
Every time I read about that, and especially in those photos that show, the photos that I saw were so demeaning that they had photos of the shoes of the victims that were on the ground after they had been shot. Okay.
In the museum, we also have things. We're a small museum, and of course, I started this museum with my own funds. It usually takes millions of dollars really to start a museum, but I did not let that prevent me from taking on this task. I have been interested in making this correction and this modification to South Carolina history for more than 3 decades. I saw it all unfolding before me, that seemingly historians did not make the connection with South Carolina's history. So that drew me really into an obsession to really begin collecting and preserving South Carolina's history. So 3 years ago, this is when I started the museum in Orangeburg, which I called the Cecil Williams South Carolina Civil Rights Museum. As you know, civil rights movement, that was a period of time between 1950 and 1970, when again, the American civil rights movement took place. And of course, rightfully so, that is the time that we really emphasize within the museum walls. And I want to thank you and your wife for visiting my museum. And we want to ask all of our listening and viewing audience to please consider coming to the museum in Orangeburg. We have exclusive, one-of-a-kind things here that are available in no other museum. In spite of our small size, and we started really with virtually no funds, we still have unbelievable exhibits and collections that no other museum, no matter how rich their treasuries are, has. We have those in the museum here in Orangeburg.
Absolutely, I can attest to that. Just by observing what was there. And you gave a very good presentation, by the way, a visual presentation, and I appreciate that. I really, really do.
Mr. Cecil or Mr. Williams, and I was just showing the website, and of course, just seeing the artifacts and the pictures, very intriguing. And our guest backstage, Ms. Zenobia Harper, she said, "I want to go," and I said, "Me too." So, we definitely need to visit soon, because it's really a treasure that you have in Orangeburg, and just you can almost see the very grassroots, homegrown aesthetic of it. And it makes me wonder what type of support you're getting. I know you said that you have funded this completely or mostly out of your pocket, but what other type of support are you getting, and how can the community support in terms of donations and anything that will help you to see this reality through to whatever your ultimate vision is?
One of the things that we have done since the museum started, of course, we have had various donations come in. Just recently, 2 weeks ago, in fact, our Congressman Clyburn was able to get us a $50,000 grant that came from the Southern Law Poverty Center in Montgomery, Alabama. We've had some smaller donations from companies such as Volvo, BMW, the Dominion Energy Company, South Carolina Arts Commission, South Carolina Humanities, and individual donations. But we have not yet been able to attract a champion, someone that really sees the value of this. I put the entire nest egg that I had in the museum, plus I also provided the shelter and a place for the museum to be. But still yet, again, you can understand that the museum that is going to be opening in Charleston, South Carolina, which, by the way, has a different kind of outlook and a history. The museum in Charleston will be a museum about the entire African-American experience in America, wherein mine is just about that very important 20-year period of the civil rights movement of South Carolina and of America, those 20 years. But in those 20 years, the most dramatic changes in our entire lifetime of being in America took place. And so it is rightfully a very important place. But we haven't had the kind of contributions that really make this possible. If the museum in Charleston 20 years ago and raising multi-million dollars and get millions-dollar grants almost every month from other places, we have not been benefacted that way. We are trying to find that kind of support for our museum. We have walls in the museum. We would love to have individuals who are interested in this to give us a donation, of course, so that we can name the wall as you would see fit. We have one wall of the 6 walls that are available. One wall was a $100,000 donation from the Kenneth Chenault Foundation. Kenneth Chenault married a South Carolina young lady, Audrey, in the Audrey Quick family. Audrey Quick and George Quick were South Carolina State College students and graduates. And Mr. Chenault married a Quick. So he gave us $100,000 about a year and a half ago. And we need that kind of level of donations. Of course, all donations are really welcome, and so much add to the support. We realize that everybody doesn't have that kind of money, but every donation helps. We're also looking for artifacts, photographs, and documents, but specifically that illustrate South Carolina's civil rights movement years. We don't want to go outside of the parameters of that, because again, every time you expand that beyond another period of time, of course, that makes the demand for more space and also a larger revenue source. And right now, we don't have that revenue source. If I could just, again, get individuals as fired up and as interested in saving our history. We stand on the shoulders of so many people who we have never recognized before. And absolutely. I didn't want my life to really be just grow and keep growing and growing and living and not reaching back and trying to really salute and pay tribute to those people who helped us make the society what it is today. They need to be recognized and their contributions need to be noted. Their sacrifices were too great for us to completely ignore them. And that's what I'm trying to do with the museum that I have founded here in Orangeburg. It's South Carolina's museum. It's our museum. It's our history.
Absolutely. And yeah, we're going to try to assist you in making that happen. Okay. Mr. Williams, I just want to go back just a tad bit before we continue to go on with our other guests. You mentioned Kenny Chenault, but Kenny is the former CEO of American Express, I believe.
That is correct.
Okay. Just let our.
He's also on the board of directors of the African American Museum in Washington, which, by the way, also has some of my photographs and so forth, and which again takes in the entire African American experience in America. But keep in mind, the museum that I have here in Orangeburg is our South Carolina museum, strictly only our South Carolina. Rock Hill, Columbia, Charleston, Greenville, Myrtle Beach, Sumter, Aiken. This is our museum.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. And I wanted to emphasize that what Kenny was, because if we have some prospective people who have reached almost the heights of Kenny, then we want them to think about contributing, and like he did. Okay.
One visit by him convinced him that here was a history that not heretofore was being preserved. On his first and only visit to the museum, which was really only 4 months after we opened the doors, he saw that here was a museum whose history had not been really preserved at any point. In fact, it helped him to really put together and connect some of the dots, because again, he was actually a benefactor and on the board of directors of the museum in Washington. So he saw what we were trying to do. We convinced him that we were going to make this happen. And so far in that 2 years, we have come a long way from, the 4-month period when he first visited our museum. So we have an entire wall. The entrance area, as you walk into the museum, it was donated again by Kenneth Chenault to the Quick family. And we sincerely thank him for that support. And others can do the same thing. We will welcome your support. This is something giving back. The images, the history we have here, it is important that we actually try to preserve these, because in my opinion, the images help to really shape the values of our youth. If you don't know where you come from, it's hard to know and get a good way and direction of where you want to go. It's a good starting point. And so history, some people think that history should be left strictly as history and just forgotten. I think completely opposite. You've got to know your history. I remember when I was in 8th grade, the only thing I can remember from 8th grade and 8th grade history books or social studies books was there was an image of George Washington crossing the Delaware. He had his foot up on a boat, and it was from a painting in my textbook at the time. And that stuck with me. So let me ask you this question. What better way can we reach the youth of today who, from the time they arise in the morning, they are bombarded with images?
Mm-hmm.
What better way can we reach them? By counting with a balance of other images that would show them some of the heroes that helped them to get where we are today in this country. It just didn't happen in a void. Someone had to sacrifice, and many died. And that we don't want to see wasted here in this state of South Carolina. Yes, we have an exhibit on the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King here. He was this great national hero, a great orator. I photographed him 4 times during the period he was in South Carolina. Again, a great national hero. But we also had South Carolina heroes who paved the road for there to be a Martin Luther King and a Rosa Parks and others. That happened in South Carolina. Even we have, for example, Sarah Mae Fleming. Almost 2 years before Rosa Parks engaged in the brave act, sitting down on a bus in Montgomery, Alabama, Sarah Mae Fleming of Eastover, South Carolina, did the very same thing in Columbia. She didn't want to get up. She sat down just like Rosa Parks did. The bus driver called the police and hit Sarah Mae Fleming. And she was jailed. Matthew Perry, who the Matthew Perry Courthouse is named for in Columbia, a great attorney, a South Carolina native of Spartanburg, took the case, but they lost. That happened 17 months before there was a Rosa Parks. And those of you who don't know Rosa Parks, you might say it was her effort in Montgomery, Alabama, that led to the election or selection of the Reverend Martin Luther King that really propelled him into really the namesake around the world and a national holiday and the hero he is. But we had a similar South Carolina case 17 months before Rosa Parks sat down.
So, Mr. Williams, look, it's just so much. Look, man, I can listen to you all day. But I think I beseech the our viewers to you have another question, April? Sorry, you're muted.
I got it. I do. I'd like to know, Mr. Williams, what your thoughts are regarding the challenge that we have now with voting rights. It seems like we are moving backwards, and it is really a shame considering what the civil rights movement and the struggles were like to get us to a point where we, could vote, and now that right is being challenged. And being able to speak to someone who actually lived during that time and you saw it firsthand, how does it make you feel, and what are your thoughts are about the fact that we're still having that fight today?
During the mid-1960s, several important legislation was passed by Congress under President Johnson. This was, of course, after the untimely death and assassination of John F. Kennedy, a person I photographed and whose images are also in the museum, because he befriended me as a young journalist at the time. I rode on his airplane and had inside access to him. But Johnson, under Congress, passed laws that really gave us the right to vote without there being so many, things that prohibited us, such as knowing how many bubbles are in a glass where there's a bar of soap, or reciting the Constitution backwards, or some other ridiculous kind of barrier to keep people of color from voting. So when Congress passed the Voting Rights Act, I thought that was something that was a long victory that we obtained and won so many years ago. Come along the renegade administration of a racist like Donald Trump, who brought out the remaining hate and people out there in the United States who had nowhere to go. They had gone into a little corner, and of course the minority of them as well. But their words are so loud because finally they had a president that really gave them license to come back out of their shadows that they had fallen into their cracks where they had nowhere to go. The same people whose grandfather and grandfathers and grandmothers actually completely eliminated the Native Americans from this country, who gave them no place to go. If we as African Americans had not asserted ourselves during the period we know as the Civil Rights Movement, I believe that our fate would have been like the Native Americans of this country. They're
almost extinct.
Their heritage and culture has almost been wiped out. Downhill, Rock Hill, South Carolina used to be the capital of a great number of Indian tribes. We signed treaties with them, this country did, and didn't even pay them. So we have treated them so very bad. And if we as African Americans did not assert ourselves, perhaps our fate would have been the same. But again, this really makes me more determined to really fight again. If we have to fight the battles that we fought before to really keep I call them the minority, but they have a loud voice. And they have found a leadership in, again, a renegade president who, again, helped them to come out of the shadows that they had fallen into. But again, there's a saying by the Reverend Martin Luther King about, I think, I don't remember the exact way that it goes, but it refers to the fact that the long journey of injustice, really, it bends towards being justice. And so no matter how long we stay on this journey, no matter how many obstacles we have to overcome, I think that there will be the dream that really Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, where we will have a colorblind society, where we must keep the faith. The struggle must continue because we haven't gotten there yet in America. Repatriation, reparations in this country to the people who really, again, gave so much. Here we gave this country 400 years of slavery. And now, the few years since the Civil War, we fought a civil war to gain our rightful place in America. Then under Reconstruction, seeing that slip away from us. And now in the Civil Rights Movement, regaining some of the momentum that we had. And now a renegade president taking that away from us. We can't let that stop us. We must continue on to fight. And I believe in the long run, we will win.
We will win. Make no mistake about it. So, Mr. Williams, so listen, look, like I said, we can listen to you all day, but we're going to have you on again. You know that because there's always updating to your progress on the magazine and the World Community Magazine. We're committed to assist in any way that we can. Okay, and hopefully our viewers are likewise. So. Look, it's been a pleasure to having you on our program this evening. And
we thank you for your donation. And we thank you for, again, giving me the opportunity to speak to this group this evening. And please do think about paying us a visit. And thank you very much for getting this great opportunity to be with you tonight. Thank you.
Look, we're gonna bring a busload during this summer.
Yes,
okay.
Yes.
We've got as I told you before, I think we've got a summer jobs program that with a number of students, and if they've been listening today, and they can always go back to our rebroadcast on our website to see this. It's our intent to have a busload, if not 2 busloads, of young people to come and see that they don't have to put up with critical race theory. They can come right there, the American, to the Cecil Williams Civil Rights Museum. Okay.
Thank you.
And get all they need. Okay, so look, thank you so much. God bless.
Thank you.
And we'll be talking again.
Right. We just want to let everyone know, if you want to know more about the Cecil Williams South Carolina Civil Rights Museum, you can go to www.cecilwilliams.com. And also, if you'd like to donate, there is a donate button on that website. And you can just simply click it. And it'll take you through, and you can, like he said, no donation is too small. And I'm sure all the support will be highly appreciated. So thank you so much, Mr. Williams, for being here.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Brother Edward. Woo!
Oh, wow.
I tell you. that was something fantastic, wasn't it?
Oh, I'm serious. We have to make this effort to take some young people there this summer or at some time frame. And hopefully this pandemic won't be as restrictive for us as it is right now. It is winding down a bit, but yeah, I'm just elated to, just to have been there. Okay, so April.
Yes. Next guest. Yes.
Yeah.
Gullah Geechee. Gullah. We're gonna have that conversation about the community day that's coming up.
Right, and to our guests, to our viewers, hang on in there until we got our correspondent from the Conway City Council meeting. If you didn't know what's going on, even though they have a website, look, we're going to tell you some things that's pertinent to what we think to our community. Okay, and he'll be here to report on it. So I'm impressed. You're going to be impressed too, I believe. Okay.
That's right. So you want to bring on our next guest?
Yes.
All right. So joining us tonight is Miss Alli Crandell of CCU. Now, Alli wears a lot of hats, so I'm going to let her tell you about all of the hats, all of the duties and responsibilities she has as she works to preserve the Gullah Geechee heritage. And we also have Miss Zenobia Harper. Queen Zenobia, how are you?
Well,
how are you tonight? How are both of you tonight?
oh, we're great. Thank you so
right.
much for having us on.
Absolutely. Did you? Alli was like, I'm on the bus. Zenobia's like, I want to go. You know, they were talking backstage, Brother Edward. So 2 seats on at least one bus are already taken.
Oh,
Absolutely.
yeah, okay. All right. I hope
And we got a whole army of students, I think, that are going to be filling one of those buses. So I think we got it.
That is awesome. That's awesome.
That's
so,
awesome.
Yeah, why don't we start with some introductions? Alli, why don't you tell our viewers a little bit about who you are, and then Zenobia, you do the same.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have the pleasure for this academic year of serving as the interim director for the Charles Joyner Institute for Gullah and African Diaspora Studies, which is the only institute dedicated to Gullah studies in the United States at Coastal Carolina University. And so that is my temporary hat, but I've been a long-term collaborator with the Joyner Institute as the director of the Athenaeum Press, which is our publishing lab at the university. And I have the pleasure this year of working with Ms. Zenobia.
All right.
Zenobia, do you want to go?
And my name is Zenobia Harper. I am a community activist, and I am community outreach for the Joyner Institute.
Awesome.
Okay.
Awesome. All right. So, of course, you're here tonight because there's a very special day that's happening, and I guess just a few wake ups. And why don't you tell us a little bit about that? I'm going to pull up some a graphic so that everyone will know what we're talking about.
No, absolutely. So coming up on the last Saturday of February is our second annual Gullah Geechee Community Day, which is part of a larger conference, the International Gullah Geechee and African Diaspora Conference, which is IGAD for short, where it brings scholars and community members from all over the region, all over the world, all over the nation, to talk about all things Gullah Geechee and African diaspora. And so a little bit about the history of this day is that we had the pleasure of coming on your program right before the pandemic hit in March of 2020 to talk about the first Gullah Geechee Community Day. So folks might remember coming into downtown Conway and seeing some art shows, maybe seeing Zenobia Harper's doll making workshop and some performances. This year, we have expanded the programming considerably. So we are taking over even more of downtown, and we literally paint downtown city of Conway, all things Gullah Geechee and African diaspora. So we have music performances, we have dance workshops, we have food, and of course we have history. And, you know, just thinking of a master like Cecil Williams and the work that he has been able to do within civil rights is really thinking about Gullah Geechee in a much larger context than just sweetgrass baskets and Gullah spirituals, is really thinking about the civil rights context. We have several talks and academic talks one on Septima Clark, the mother of the civil rights movement, I would like to say, alongside thinking about Black resiliency and empowerment, regional projects that are making changes. So even if you are coming for the performances and the food, there's a little bit of history that's thrown in to the day as well.
Zenobia, you want to chime in on that?
No, I'm just like looking forward to everything that's going to be happening on Saturday, and really hoping that people are able to come out to learn, to be exposed, and most of all, after such a hard and anxiety-ridden couple of years, to come out and really be able to have fun and enjoy each other's company and learn about the Gullah Geechee culture.
Mm-hmm. You know, Alli, we get the question all the time, just even in certain circles, when people hear the term Gullah Geechee, they're like, what exactly is that? What exactly is Gullah Geechee? If you had to put it in just a few short words, how would you describe what it is?
All right, I'm going to let Zenobia answer the same
All
question.
right.
All
Okay.
right.
Yeah, because it'll be interesting to hear your
exactly.
your interpretations. Yeah, exactly.
So I think of Gullah Geechee as preservation of our African roots, and I think of Gullah Geechee as an insistence on place. What about you, Zenobia?
So Gullah Geechee people are the descendants of enslaved African peoples that were trafficked to this area for the purposes of a certain type of technology, for rice technology. We are the descendants of those enslaved Africans that were trafficked for and brought everything about themselves with themselves to the New World and used everything that they brought with themselves to create an economy. And that economy helped to fuel the success of what we now call America. That's who the Gullah Geechee people are. And so I want people to always think about those West African peoples that were trafficked for rice purposes as not just one people, but many peoples coming from a huge region, West Africa, of a huge continent and diverse continent and rich continent, an intellectual continent, and all of those people having to come to this new place in the most savage of situations, and then having to become one people. Okay, people who trafficked and enslaved Africans in the 1700s noted 40 different languages or dialects of language being spoken out of the mouths of those West African peoples. And those West African peoples were trafficked for more than just, they were trafficked for tools, they were trafficked for technology, they were trafficked for intellectual property, they were trafficked for what they knew. And they took what they knew and they built an economy that fueled this nation, the creation of this nation. So it is people, it is language, it is culture.
And I think that a lot of people who are trying to learn more about the Gullah Geechee community, the heritage, the legacy, often wonder how it all began. And of course, you just explained that, very poignantly. And I think it's interesting when we think about the Gullah Geechee corridor, and, we've heard those terms as well. And for example, we're South Carolina, and there are people in North Carolina, Virginia, and other areas who actually fall within that particular realm. And so I don't know that people really understand how vast and impactful the Gullah Geechee community really is, in a sense, or how much of an impact it's actually had on American history. But I think it's since this is a platform that we're using to actually learn, and as they say, teach them something right now. Can you answer for us what routes were actually a part of that entry into what you call the New World? How did they get here? Meaning, how did we get here, our ancestors? And where exactly is the Gullah Geechee corridor? How would you describe that?
So I think, if I can start in the present, like with the corridor, and let Zenobia also answer the entry points too, is that the corridor runs from Wilmington, North Carolina to St. Augustine, Florida, and 30 miles inland. And so we're at the northern part of that Gullah Geechee corridor. And so oftentimes, as you said, like people think about Charleston, Beaufort as places where Gullah Geechee communities live and thrive. But Georgetown was, as Zenobia pointed out, it was the center of rice. It was the economic engine,
right.
Wall Street of America. And Horry County with turpentine and the shipping industry as well, that we don't often get the recognition that Gullah Geechee communities and individuals and language and culture thrives in this corner of the state. And so that's kind of why we also insist on holding it in downtown Conway, which not a lot of people connect with Gullah Geechee culture. But as you know, it's like as your program has pointed out numerous times, the Gullah Geechee branches run all across this community.
And also we cannot, I mean, even though we're up at the northern part of the corridor, and Georgetown County was the seat of rice production, we just can't underestimate that Charleston port and how many people made entry into the New World or the so-called New World as enslaved Africans through the port of Charleston. I mean, it's just phenomenal, the amount of people that came through the port of Charleston. And then also, if you really want to expand on the Gullah Geechee reach, because so many people came through Charleston, we're everywhere. We're everywhere. So as people began to have the opportunity to leave the South and migrate to, New York and Chicago and all of these other places, they were taking those Gullah sensibilities with them all over the country.
Absolutely. And yeah, go ahead, Brother Edward.
She mentioned, and I don't know how she meant to form it, but she said they brought rice technology.
Yeah,
correct.
Right technology. To some of our viewers, especially young viewers who associate the word technology with something that's just came about, okay, within the last 5, 10, 15 years. But that was really technology, but it was, if you look at it today, it's crude just with the material that they had, right? But
right.
But it was a technology, okay, that was not over here.
Absolutely. That's correct. So in order for you to have the iPhone, what iPhone we on now? Which iPhone? iPhone 20, iPhone. In order for us to have that iPhone, there had to be the iPhone 1. And then before the iPhone 1, there had to be all the other iPhones or the phones that happened before the iPhone. So all we do is build new technology upon old technology. Rice cultivation is evidence that enslaved Africans were trafficked because of their knowledge. In order to grow rice, you had to have so much built out infrastructure. They used a method of irrigation, a way to irrigate and water the rice, called the tidal flow method of irrigation, depending upon the ocean to press in on river systems, creating dikes and canal systems, creating trunk dock systems. So when you think about it that way, you had engineers, you had astrologers, you had astronomers, you had builders. You think about surveying land, 40,000 acres of rice fields in Georgetown County, and you surveying that land without a drone. You understand? Without the technology that we have today. So the only way you have new technology is that you build new technology off of old technology. And we do well not to disrespect the old technology, but to acknowledge its place in the creation of the new technology. And rice cultivation is evidence of that. So for the young people out there who are listening, anybody tells you that STEM is a new thing to you, it is tell them that your people have always. Science, technology, and math is in your DNA.
Absolutely.
From the start bit.
A couple of things. Just want to touch base on that before you say something, April. Now, one is that I took. I believe there was a tour that we did some time ago that we learned from this tour guide was that if you didn't have the exact or near exact amount of water to allow into that rice by rice field by way of irrigation and the little small dams that they built, then you could lose the whole field of rice. Okay, it couldn't be too much and it couldn't be too less. The other thing showed the criticality of the labor that was on the technology that this country needed at the time, was the fact that from a medical perspective, the slave masters were dying from malaria, but our ancestors were there to protect them by way of the malaria. We could tolerate, our toleration for malaria was beyond what anybody else had. Therefore, we could continue producing the rice and growing the rice.
Absolutely. And I think that, if I can jump on that, Brother Edward, of thinking about that, really understanding Gullah Geechee history is understanding our place in our community in a whole different way. And understanding the innovations and technology that have reshaped literally what you see when you're driving up and down Highway 701 and Highway 17. And so I think that, in terms of this event on Saturday, that we're really hoping that folks who might not, it's an approachable, fun way to really start that conversation for those that aren't having it, and a way to continue the conversation for those who have been engaged in that conversation for decades. By providing hands-on activities, Zenobia has provided some finger flingers and some take and makes that just show a little bit of craft and a little bit of opportunity to get your hands on both craft and technology. As well as just ways to just find that hook that will get you, pull you into the immensity of Gullah Geechee history in this area.
And one of the things that we're really excited about this year is that there will be a procession in downtown Conway. We have an awesome artist. His name is Dennis McNett. Came into the community and was a learner. He came to learn about the Gullah Geechee culture. We were able to have him come and sit and have meaningful conversations with people like Veronica Gerald and Natalie Days from Gullah Gullah Island, and Marilyn Hemingway and Vanessa Green. And he's come up with his version of the Mama Wata. And she is huge. I mean, she's going to be processing down downtown Conway, 11 and a half, 12 feet tall. Her head will be 40 inches, tall. Wow. As a way for us, as Alli said, to talk about place. That character connects us to West Africa through folklore and oral storytelling and all of those types of things. So I am so excited to be able to see her process through the streets of Conway, and reminding people that we are a people of place. We came from some place, and when we left that place, we brought with us the things that we honed in that place. So there are going to be a lot of exciting things to see, to taste, to do on Saturday.
All right.
Well, this is all fantastic. I was going to go a different route, but Brother Edward brought up a really good point that you all went deep into. And I was just reflecting, some folks are like, during the show, I usually get text messages and I see comments and things like that. And I was reminiscing with Claudine Lance Schofield about the fact that we attended the Gullah Geechee Day program maybe a couple of years ago. And it was fantastic then. And, our hope and prayer was that it would grow and it would continue. And Alli, it is awesome that you have, continued in the spirit of bringing awareness to the preservation of the Gullah Geechee heritage. And Ms. Zenobia, it's so wonderful. I think I can listen to you all day. It's amazing. You are in your gift. You're walking in your gift as an author. I need to get some of your books.
Thank you.
And a storyteller, because as you were talking about, for example, the entry into the new world. And you know, the impact on the rice technology. I was thinking about how our ancestors hid rice in their hair, and you know, things of that nature. And so I feel
It's
like
hard. It is hard to break the spirit. It's hard to break the human spirit, isn't it? And we work hard to survive. We work hard to survive. It is hard to break the human spirit. And so, you know, that's where innovation a lot of times comes from. If somebody shuts off one thing, you strive to do it another way. You have to always keep, you know, moving and surviving. And it is absolutely amazing that especially our foremothers survived long enough for us to get here. And so our job and responsibility is to celebrate and to tell their stories. They didn't have the opportunity to tell their stories. You see what I'm saying? They had to be labeled based on what other people said they were. So we get the opportunity to say the devil is a lie.
Okay.
This is who we are. This is who we are. Now, now you take that and go back and tell that.
There you go.
Are you gonna run on and tell that?
That's right. That's right. Run on and tell that. Well, I
go tell that.
My roots run through Georgetown as well. My grandfather was a whitest, and so I'm definitely you know, I have the threads of the fabric of the Gullah Geechee community in my blood and in my spirit. And it is certainly a pleasure to have both of you here and continue the good work. And we're going to continue to you know, promote the Gullah Geechee Community Day that's coming up Saturday. And we're going to share it everywhere. And of course, we're going to push the rebroadcast of this. So Brother Edward, this was wonderful, wasn't it?
Yeah. In reflection, April, that's going to be this Saturday. Where will it begin? Where?
So we're going to kick it off at the Horry County Museum Auditorium at 10 o'clock. And then it runs all the way into our closing ceremonies, also at the Horry County Museum. But we're all up and down Main Street on the town green, across from the Coppers Restaurant, Conway City Hall, 5th and Main Visitor Center, the Hut, Bryan House, and also the library is where Zenobia will be holding a couple doll making workshops. And our Associate Director, Ashlyn Pope, will also be doing some hands-on workshops as well.
Absolutely. And like I said, the Conway City Council, they echoed the same thing, what's going to happen. And speaking of the City Council, Conway City Council, we're going to bring on a gentleman, I'm sure all of you knew probably now, that who's really going to give us a good summary of what happened yesterday and some pertinent things that were topics at the Conway City Council. So, so April, there's a question there about why was rice hidden in the hair?
Yes, and I answered the question so that they can have food for the Middle Passage. And yeah, to bring that over. That was a part of that technology you're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That's technology.
It's and you know, when you see illustrations that depict what it could look like to actually have the rice braided in the hair, it just like Zenobia says, it's soul stirring.
Yeah.
To think of the ingenuity there, just the creativity, that was pure genius to be able to, you know, hide it that way, you know. So there's so much to learn. So much to learn.
They hit it right in front of them.
In plain sight, as they say.
That's right.
In plain sight.
In plain sight.
Amazing. Yep. But anyway, thank you all so much. We really do appreciate it. And
thank you guys.
See you on Saturday.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Certainly have you back.
All right.
Absolutely.
Take care.
Absolutely.
All right, take care.
If you want to hang around to listen to our young intern.
Can I bring him on now?
Yes, ma'am. You can bring him
all right. Hey.
There he is.
I think are you muted? I can't hear you, Marcus. Let's see. Well, Brother Edward, tell everybody while he's working on his sound how you met Marcus.
Well,
yeah, it's still muted.
Well, actually, I met Marcus years ago. He was one of our first or second set of students that we hired in our summer job program. And I think this was about 5 years ago. Are you still muted, Marcus? Yeah, this is
maybe try going out and coming back in. Try going out because we can't hear you. You might be able to hear us, but we can't hear you. So I would say leave the stream and then come right back in. Okay. Go ahead, Brother Edward.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. And Marcus was one of our, I believe, a second or third. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he was among the second or third summer job program, a third year of our summer jobs program. And I was impressed then, and we saw him grow from that point. And I think he matriculated into, are you back?
Still can't hear you.
Marcus, on your computer, Marcus, go down there where the volume is. Maybe you have it on.
Do you have your volume down?
Maybe you have it on head. They should give you 2 or 3 options there. If you press it, and you don't have the headphone there, do you? You don't have it on headphone?
Are you connected to earbuds?
You should have some options like select playback device. Speaker virtuals.
Hold on, Brother Edward. Are you on your phone or are you on a computer? Computer?
Computer, yeah.
Are you on Chrome? Okay, give him a second. We'll give him a second.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Brother Edward.
Well, he can also communicate by way of phone if he wants, and then we can see him, but he can talk by way of phone, I guess. But anyway, he was like our third year of summer job students, and he worked out very, very well. He and among others, they worked out quite well, and so we saw him matriculate to. He became president of, I believe, the senior class, I believe, when he graduated from Conway High School.
Nah, I think
there we go. There we go.
A lot better.
Okay, what was the issue, man?
I have no clue at all. That's the thing about technology. You never know what can happen. So thankfully, we can navigate and troubleshoot.
All right.
All right.
I hear some feedback. Do you have more than one browser open or another device on?
No, ma'am, no other device on. That should be better there. I just closed out any potential tabs that were open. Can you still hear any feedback?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, I don't have anything else around that could cause it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'm gonna mute myself, Brother Eric. Y'all go ahead and talk.
Okay. All right, Brother Marcus, go ahead and do your thing, man. Let the world know about Conway. Okay.
There's a bad echo. Somebody has a window open that has it playing in the background. It's like radio.
Yeah, I don't have another window of it open. Let's see something.
It's not. Are you on your computer or your phone?
I'm on my laptop.
And you don't have it on your phone?
No, ma'am. No, I don't have anything else that could potentially have it open. No other window.
Anybody in the room with you with it on? Another device.
It's on the TV, but there's no volume on the TV at all.
It could be picking up a reverb somehow.
Yeah, it could be.
I don't know.
Yeah, let's try that. We'll
So
try
let's turn that off.
There we go. You still hearing it?
Speak now.
All right,
Yeah,
can you
still
hear
hear
me?
myself.
Yeah, still, yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. So
Yeah, you're going to be doing the talking anyway.
very true, very true. So on yesterday's meeting at the Conway City Council, they discussed one of the first topics. A woman came in the public info section and discussed the Smith Jones pools and tennis courts needing refurbishing and renovation. I spoke with someone from the Parks and Rec Department today. They said that the only thing they need to do with the tennis courts is to resurface those, put up new nets, and pressure wash it. They said that'll be fairly, small cost, very little effort put into it. But the pool is different due to the fact that during the pandemic, they didn't have anybody to come and service the pool. So with no one there to service the pool, a lot of the things went down, like the pumps, the flooring, the chlorination level of the water itself. But they said they are actively trying to find a way to alleviate the problem and get it back in, because also it's not just another source of income for the city, but it is also a historic landmark to a very big part of this community. And they're also going to keep the purple and gold colors to honor Whittemore High School, just like they did with the basketball courts, and they resurfaced those as well. There was also an agenda by the Conway Downtown Alive Association. This association talks about the betterment of the community. It's an extension of the Chamber of Commerce. Their main thing is to reverb and show a lot of people about many things that are offered to the city of Conway through the commercial district, which is more or less the downtown area with a lot of the older buildings and shops that are represented down there. And a big thing that myself and Mr. Edward also noticed was a seemingly lack of diversity amongst members of this organization. So in the coming weeks, I plan on trying to make some communication with the people in Downtown Alive to see if a lot of the black owned and operated shops down there are a part of Downtown Alive. Now, if anybody else out there understands or knows the situation of the shops and how many are in there, would be very pertinent if you could reach out to WCM or me or Cousin Edward and let us know something. We would greatly appreciate it. Also, there is a proposal for a property hearing on 1705 Mckinton Street. This is a very big topic of the meeting. 1705 Mckinton Street, that one time used to be a daycare. Many people know, but they are trying to turn it into a commercial zoning for a new funeral home. Now that brings upon a lot of problems and a lot of rights for a lot of the locals in the area. A lot of the locals aren't going to want that constant traffic, and it's also going to present a problem with parking due to potential services and wakes and viewings of bodies at that location.
Brother Eric, where exactly is that? Give me some landmarks around 1705 McKinnon.
I could actually help you with that a little bit.
Okay.
That area, the corridor at the IGA, the Healthcare Partners of South Carolina building right behind that, that street that runs behind that area, and it comes out to meet 16th Avenue behind the Chinese restaurant.
Okay.
And there's a lot of residential properties in that area along that street heading back towards the park. And the lot itself is actually only half an acre, which is extremely small for a funeral home. You have to worry about family cars and then also the limousines and other employee vehicles for the funeral home itself. So that would cause a lot of congestion to that area. There's a public hearing for that also going to be on March 31st in the City Hall office in the chambers where they hold the City Council meetings. That's for if anybody would like to attend that. Also, on March 5th, the Clemson Agricultural Extension is doing a pickup and trade out for Bradford pear trees. Those are very dangerous to the environment. They also carry a lot of disease and infections for other plants in your garden, such as tomato plants, cucumbers, rose bushes, things of that nature. So the Clemson Extension is offering that if you cut down your Bradford pear trees and bring them to the City Hall Annex right there at the green at 3rd Avenue, they will be able to swap it out with a different type of tree that is more sustainable to the environment. That'll be on March 5th. Also, there is a potential cleaning of the 378 and Wright Boulevard corridor. They want to try and pick up trash and a lot of the debris that people throw out on the highway as they come through that part of town, because it is not so heavily populated. People feel like they don't have to worry about littering as much. So they're letting people notify that the city of Conway will have crews out there doing that. We have a couple other things. The city of Conway also recognized the memory of Mr. Pete Wilkes, who was a very, very big proprietor and supporter of Conway Rec Athletics. He was a coach and a big part of that recreation department for 32 plus years. He passed away on Monday. So they wanted to try and find a way to honor his memory and all the contributions that he has brought forth to the local community. As it was aforementioned before in the broadcast here, we have the Gullah Geechee Community Day kicking off in Conway. That event is going to last from 10 to 4 with many events. They have a website, gullahgeecheeday.com. Also, if you have a problem finding that, you can visit the City of Conway website, where they will have a link on the city calendar, and it has a full layout of everything taking place that day. There will be trolleys from each destination, so people won't have to walk all across town if they don't feel like it, or if they're enabled due to a handicap. They have that taking place with food trucks, multiple events at the auditorium. There will be a lot of places, a lot of stops around the city of Conway. It should be very interesting. We recommend people get out and go see that. Also,
Mark, do you happen to have the City of Conway's website? I have cityofconway.com. Is that it?
yes, ma'am, cityofconway.com, and then on one of the tabs for the events and calendars, you can click on it there, and it'll show you all the events that take place in each month for the City of Conway.
Awesome.
Also, a lot of people do not realize this, but recently on the 501 Business Bridge, at the base of that bridge coming into Conway, there have been cameras installed. There have been a lot of questions asked by the public about these cameras. These cameras are ran by the NCIC, which is an abbreviation for the National Crime Information System. Now, people are worried that this is giving them speeding tickets or tickets that don't acknowledge signals, things of that nature, but that is not true. Those cameras are meant to flag license plates that are in that national registry for crimes such as kidnapping, armed robbery, murder suspects, things of that nature. So it's not something to get traffic infractions. Those are also meant to help our community and help us stay safe here in the city of Conway due to a large influx of crime in our area over recent years. We also want to make it known to everyone that there is a 5-minute public input section at the beginning of every city council meeting. If you have an issue that you feel needs to be addressed and brought up to the city council, they would like you to come at that time. There's a 5-minute limit, and you can express your request to the entire board, to the mayor herself, and they can do things at an appropriate matter to take care of your problems. The meetings take place every first and third Monday at 4 p.m. in the City Hall meeting in the council's chambers. And that is all I have for you on this week's meeting. I'll have more for you upon the next meeting and some updates on things that we have mentioned already.
And when is the next meeting, Brother Marcus?
The next meeting is not going to be there. They have a retreat coming up at the end of this month, and the first meeting in March, I believe March 5th is the date. That meeting is also not taking place due to the budget retreat by the city council and the mayor.
So where are they going for the budget? Just curious. Where are they going for the budget?
The budget retreat is taking place in Wilmington, North Carolina. They'll be gone 3 days.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, Marcus, I must say, first of all, I'm totally impressed. I just sat here and learned more about what's going on in the city of Conway from you in the 5 or 10 minutes you were speaking than I could ever learn from searching a bunch of websites trying to put it all together. You did it succinctly and very clearly, and I have to welcome you to the WCM Live family. I look forward to you bringing more of this report.
Thank you, I
keep
appreciate
busy.
it.
We gotta keep this.
Well, I greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, we appreciate you. Okay.
No
We
problem.
want to see you. We'll continue to see you grow. Okay.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right, well, Brother Elliot, that's it.
Look, we got some announcements. Do you have any announcements?
Woo! Do I have any announcements? But the Gullah Geechee Day, Community Day, has been circulating a lot on the network. And I think, of course, we want to pay honor to the Wilkes family on the passing of Mr. Pete Wilkes. Mr. Pete, we're going to miss you.
Okay, April, do you still hear the echo?
I do. Marcus, I'm going to remove you and let's see if that changes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's better. So we got to figure out what's going on with that before the next one.
Good.
But anyway, and so we want to thank him thank his family for lending him to the Conway community, and we appreciate everything that Mr. Pete did, the impact he made on a lot of young lives. I saw the comments coming through from people who talked about how much he impacted their lives, and they were youngins when he first entered their lives, and now they're grown-ups with their own families, and they still remember everything that he did for them. So definitely an icon who will be missed. There's not too much that I can see. We will have some more announcements coming up soon about the Whittemore alumni association and scholarship, and there's a few other things that are happening in the community, getting ready for the springtime. So, can't wait for the next show, and we're still working on some details for the next show. So I won't make any announcements right now. But Brother Edward, this was an amazing show tonight.
April, just let me inject some another announcement.
Okay.
You got time?
Well, you just made time. You just made time.
Right.
Go ahead.
Okay, yeah. Through the partnership with the HBO and Picture Motion entity, it's been announced that Israel Metropolitan CME Church has been chosen as a host site to provide 2 screenings of the HBO documentary. One has occurred already. It's called Obama, then In the Pursuit of a More Perfect Union. It's a new documentary. And during Black History Month, they're going to host these screenings on the following dates. As I said, one has already been done. That was yesterday, February 21st. But the next one is Saturday, March 26th. I think that's the Saturday coming up, from 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. The tickets are free and can be reserved by clicking the link. We'll put out the link.
And where the screening is going to be?
At the Israel Metropolitan CME Church. It's in Greenville, South Carolina.
Okay. All right.
It's in Greenville, but the link, we'll have access to the link, and we'll send it out to everybody. And there you have Pastor Courtney L. Adams, or Reverend Courtney L. Adams is the pastor there.
Okay. Yeah. Make sure you email that to me, and I'll definitely post it on social media as well.
Right. Israel Metropolitan AME Church in Greenville, South Carolina.
Greenville, yeah.
Yeah, in Greenville, South Carolina. Okay. So also April, this hasn't been widespread yet, but we're still on our journey dealing with the part 2 of our history of Conway history around the race path 378, like we did last week, or was it week before last? We talked about, and we had photos of our history there. So this is kind of like semi-proposal, is that we're thinking about hosting a drive-by at the Whittemore Park School for everybody to drop off any of the Conway photos about Race Path, Sugar Hill, 378, all this area west of 501, to depict any photos that he may have that will depict our history. Okay. The date is to be determined, but this is what we're working on. This is the planning. But
who's organizing this?
It's just a number. There isn't a society yet. There isn't a group that's been compiled that we can solidify and say they will be a part of that. Okay.
Okay.
But I thought it was important to at least put the planning out there, and just in case somebody wants to join up and want to be a part of something like that. Okay.
So who would they contact for more information?
They can go to the website, or I'll send out by way of email who they can contact. Okay, from the mailing list, and I do want, and I put in fact, you can just give me a call. Okay, the office here would be 843-331-3043. Okay.
So
you can put that on Facebook. Yeah.
Okay, I have a question. So the picture collection, original photos, or can they be scans? Because I'm sure a lot of people don't want to part with their original photos. Right. Yeah,
absolutely. They can be scanned. They can be scanned. In fact, we prefer that, because it's going to be if it's a lot of photos and stuff, it's going to be an enormous task of trying to get it back to them. And since it's a drive-by, they can just drop off these photos. That relieves us of the pressure of having to return these things to them.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah, get me some details, and definitely want to get that information out, and some concrete details on how people can get their photos out or get them back, or however it is it's being organized, and who's responsible and all that good stuff. And certainly help push that, what as far as what the initiative is all about.
Right. This is just more of what we had there 2 weeks ago. I think it was last week about the area, race past there, the area, and our history of what we had. Okay, things like Wright Station and Bill McLeod and stuff like that. So if people want to really give us some assistance with their participation, please do so. You can give me a call with that number, okay? And we'll also put it on Facebook. Sorry, I can't be any more clear than that. But some of the things, but I thought it was important to at least talk about the planning of it. Okay, since Black History Month is, will be gone pretty soon, but we can extend it beyond that if we get good participation.
We can always revisit it later when you have more details here, so people won't be confused about what's going on. But
absolutely,
it sounds like an incredible endeavor. Because when we were putting that show together, it was really. I want to say it was hard to find pictures. I think it was difficult or challenging to find pictures of certain things. Right, but everyone has some type of pictorial memory in their possession, and you never know what you'll see in certain pictures, know. So
absolutely.
Well, that's great, Brother Edward, and thank you so much. And when that information becomes clear, we'll definitely mention it on future shows and push it on web and all that other good stuff. So it's been a great night. It's 8:32. I'm ready to wrap this up, Brother Edward. Do you have anything else?
I didn't look at the time. I don't have anything else.
Okay, all right.
Nobody's giving me anything else.
All right.
Well, you've already said about next week, right?
No, I have not. I said that was in the making. In the making. I don't want to announce. I don't want to announce it.
Well, we're not going to announce it, but I like to say, the Whittemore Alumni Association will be in the focus there. Okay. No,
they were not.
They were not.
No, Brother Edward.
Okay. All right.
Leave it.
Right.
Yeah. Y'all, this is what I have to deal with. This is all the time. He can't. Oh God, it's burning a hole in his pocket. It's like a new shiny coin.
Hey, that's this. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Cool it. Okay. Thank you.
Cool it.
Cool it.
God bless our viewers.
All right. Y'all have a good rest of the week.
Especially our understanding viewers.
Yes. We will be back next week, the same time, 7 p.m. Tuesday. See us here. Yes. It's been a wonderful Black History Month, and I'm going to watch this again, as a matter of fact. Watch the rebroadcast of this show.
That'd be nice.
Yeah.
Got glasses on, so.
Your favorites. I'm getting a new pair. I hope they'll be here by next week. Something different.
All right.
All right. Well, have a good night, everybody.
God bless.
All right.
Thank you for watching the World Community Magazine's Hour of Power Live on Facebook with your host Edward McQueen and April Garner.